We'll give a title to today's homily. If you are in your comfort zone, you're not a Christian. If you're in your comfort zone, you are not a Christian. All right, a little bit of theology to begin with, and then some examples of what we're going to be talking about that pertains to this, we call this a theophany, a place where God reveals himself. You remember, right at the beginning of Matthew's gospel, right after the infancy narratives, we have the ministry of John the Baptist, and Jesus goes to be baptized. And once again, a cloud comes over him, and a voice comes from the heavens, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." We have the same thing being enacted now in the Transfiguration. The difference here is that Jesus takes on what the Hebrews call the Shekinah. The Shekinah, he manifests the glory of God and says, he became dazzling as light. And the disciples that were there with him, they had a manifestation of God. So the clear message here from the beginning of the gospel to this middle part of the gospel, to the end of the gospel, is that Jesus is indeed God, and in fact, God himself, because we hear that God is light. God is light, and they have a vision of God. The glory of God is shining through Jesus. Now, with this manifestation, there's something else going on, and it is a vision of heaven. This is a vision of heaven, which the Jews were always looking forward to, the perfect world at the end of time. This is the best that ever could be imagined, that they would be with God and gazing upon his face forever. Now, there is another narrative going on here in this gospel. It's almost like a subplot. Let's call it a subplot. The subplot is when Peter wants to set up some booths for Jesus, Elijah, and for Moses. Now, why does he want to set up booths? Okay, first of all, let me give you the imagery that's involved here. Some of you might be familiar with the Jewish feast of Sukkoth, and it's usually it is a fall festival, usually September, October. And if you go to a Jewish neighborhood, you're going to find, it looks like little tents or shacks set up on their front porch. And those booths symbolized the harvest for the Israelites. So at the end of the harvest, fall begins, but they take in the crops, and they put all kinds of goodies into these tents. So it was a place where they could go and they could enjoy, especially the kids. They could enjoy, candy, cake. I don't think they had ice cream at that time. Ben & Jerry's wasn't invented yet, but so they didn't have that. But they had all nice things in there. People go in and enjoy the delicious food they had in there, all the treats that were in there. Cannolis, sfogliatellis, things like that they had. How many like cannoli and sfogliatelli? All right, I had that too. You believe that? Okay. All right. Now, this then is the vision of heaven. This is where heaven you are seeing God, and you are able to enjoy life to its fullest. All those things you always dreamed of. The work is over, no work, and plenty of food. The Lord is my shepherd. There's nothing I shall want. See, that's where this all comes from. And then Peter says, let me set up these tents. Why? He says in his own mind, we got it. Let's stay right here. Let's not go any further. See? And like a lot of us go on vacation and we think we can stay there forever, but we know that's not real. Reality sets in and we have to go home. And so the vision then, it comes to an end. It comes to an end. Now, why did Peter want to stay there? Just like we would want to stay on vacation. He was in his comfort zone. That was his comfort zone because he knew that the ministry of Jesus had a lot more to it than simply staying on Mount Tabor and enjoying a taste of heaven. He knew that as one training in discipleship, that it meant going to the cross, that life was going to be difficult, and that the disciple had to struggle. And finally, the true disciple is the one that follows Jesus to the cross and then to carry their own cross in life. That's what this is all about. So basically, Peter is being told, no, you can't stay here. This is not for real. It's for later on. It's a taste of what's going to come, but this is not for now, and you have a lot of work to do in the meantime. Now, this is important for Christians because, as I said, a lot of us want to have or be in our comfort zone. Say, this is my comfort zone. Christian cannot have a comfort zone. Christian is always someone who is on the way to the cross and struggling with the world, the flesh, and the devil. And it's not until Christ comes again at the end of time that we are able to enjoy that eternal rest and enjoy life to its fullest, and really be able to see the face of God and enjoy the beatific vision forever in heaven. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that I've been thinking about what it means to be a Christian. As I said, it's not easy. You got to take up your cross and you have to follow him. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to say, I'm tired, I'm old, I'm lonely, I'm tempted. A whole bunch of reasons that we have that we say we can't do it. But you can. And if you're a Christian, you have to. So, reading an article last couple of weeks, there is a young boy. His name is Liam Morrison. Liam lives in a place called Massachusetts. And he is a 12-year-old boy. And he went to school and he had on a shirt that said there are only 2 genders. Well, principal told him he had to go home. So he went home and told his parents. Now, I'm sure his parents had something to do with this. I'm presuming, okay? So he goes home and tells his parents, and the parents went up to the school and said, hey, wait a minute, why can't he wear this shirt? And they said, well, because we have a welcoming policy in this school, and that shirt is unwelcoming. So the father said, I'm bringing him to school again tomorrow. Went the next day, they threw him out again. And the case, the school board backed the principal up. So the case then went to court. And the court backed up the school board. And they said that he can't go to school wearing that shirt. So now, after having gone through the Federal Circuit Court, they're going to appeal the case. It's going to an appeals court. All right. You see the aggravation that this man and his family and this boy are going through in order to live out their faith. There's only 2 genders. When you could go into the school and anybody else could say anything they want. There are 58 genders. So they said, well, that is a violation of First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion, religious liberty. So the case is now in court. Now, Father O is going to make a prediction. When it gets to the higher courts, if it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to win. Because there was a case back in 1965 called the Tinker case. Some of you might want to go home, the Tinker case. And at that time it was 1965, and remember Vietnam? And some students wanted to go to school wearing an armband, a black armband, protesting the war. It went to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said that your constitutional rights do not end at the school door. So the students wore the black armbands. Supreme Court said, you have a right to do that. I think that's where this case is going to end up. That's how I see it at this point. But you see what the Christian has to do. You have to be persistent. And you have to have courage to be a Christian, to say, I don't care what everybody else says. I don't care what society says. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to live out the gospel, and I'm going to make a gospel statement. Okay. All right, now I'm going to give you an example of what persistence and courage is all about. Now, pay attention. I am not endorsing Donald Trump. All right? I'm not. I'm not praising him for, his virtues. Well, for two, I am, though. All right? You might not agree with him. I don't agree with him with everything. You might not like his lifestyle. Whatever the case is, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. No endorsement. But there are two things that I admire him for. What other human being would continue to run for office when you have like 10 million indictments against you and half the country mocking you all the time? That's a unique kind of person that could take that. Most of us would say, who needs that aggravation? But the guy just keeps going. It's persistence. Might not like him, don't like him. Persistence and courage to go on, even if life is difficult and people say nasty things about you. So for Christians, life sometimes is going to be difficult. People are going to say nasty things about you. They're not going to like you. But if you're following the gospel, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to say what's right, and you have to do what's right. God love you.